Hey everybody, this is Jennifer, and today I'm going to show you how to make these 3 bead earrings. And today I used rose quartz and amethyst, and it's been a while since I've made these, so I was a little slow at making them, but I hope you really enjoy the video. And if you don't mind, please leave a like. That really helps my channel out a lot, and it lets YouTube know to recommend my videos to other people wanting to learn how to make jewelry. And also hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you'll be alerted to whenever I upload a new video, and I plan on uploading fairly frequently. So I hope you enjoy the tutorial and leave any comments down below. And also the materials needed for the earrings will be listed in the description below. And also all the tools that I've used and tried and love will also be listed in the description as well, in case you're in need of some tools. So I hope you enjoy the tutorial and just keep watching. For each earring, I'm using 20 gauge wire to put the beads on, and I'm using pear wire, and this is in the color silver, and you need each piece to be about 4 inches long. And then for the wire that goes around the beads, I'm using 26 gauge in the silver, and you need 4 pieces about 6 inches long for each earring. And then for each earring, you'll need an 8mm bead, a 6mm bead, and a 4mm bead. And I'm using rose quartz and amethyst. So to start, I'm going to use my needle nose pliers by Xuron. And I'm just going to go a little bit above the end, and I'm just going to bend up. So now I'm going to take my 4 26 gauge wires, and I'm going to get them to where they're all to the same, to where they're all even with each other, like that. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to pull it up even on either side. I pulled this other side up a little bit higher to make everything even. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the wire around. These earrings go along with the herringbone braided effect ring that I've posted. So now you want this little piece that you bent up, this is going to be in the back. So you want this part of your wire to be in the back, and you want this to be your front. And I'm actually going to start this up a little bit higher, and then I'll slide it down. And that'll prevent that from slipping off as easily. So I'm going to take an 8mm bead, and I'm going to put that on the bottom. And then I'm just going to make sure I pull those straight and make sure they're close to the bead, and I want to make sure they lay flat as I wrap. And you're going to wrap it around, and it's going to come back to the same side you started on. And you're going to do that with the other side as well. You're going to make sure the wires lay flat against your bead, and then you're just going to wrap it around and pull it. So you have your first bead on, and it looks like this. So now I'm going to slide it down. I'm going to make sure the little curved part is toward the back, because at the end, that's what we're going to use to actually hold this all together. And then I'm going to put a 6mm bead on. And I'm going to do the same thing where I make sure my wires are laying flat. And I'm going to make sure this bead is down as close as I can get it. But I'm going to wrap, hold the bead in place, and I'm just going to wrap around like that and pull it back to the side I started on. And I just want to make sure those are pressed up good against that wire, against that bead. And I closed it a little bit, so I'm going to open that bead up a little bit. And so now I'm going to wrap this other one. I'm going to make sure they're laying flat against the bead. And I'm going to pull it around like that. If the bead ends up being a little bit closed up and you want to open it, just take your nails gently and just spread the wires a little bit. So now I'm going to add my 4mm bead right on top of that 6mm. And then I'm going to take it, and you always want to take it from the side you started with to pull the wire around. You want to start on that same side every time. So like every time on this one, I'm going to do the right side. On the other earring, I'm going to do the opposite because I want it to be a mirror image. So I'm pulling that around and making sure they're flat. Usually on the 4mm beads, you do end up having to open it up a little bit, but right here you want to do something a little bit different than what we did before. You want to wrap it around all the way around, and then I want to round again, and then I'm going to trim these wire ends off, and I want to trim them off as close as I can get. And then I'm going to take my pliers and I'm just going to press these down gently and get them down as flat as I can to the wire. And you may want to even just kind of gently twist your pliers around as you open and close them a little bit, just to get that wire wrapped around there nice and neat and nice and tight. And you just want to make sure that everything is looking nice and neat. You want to make sure that all that feels smooth. Okay, so now I'm going to take the other side and I'm going to go around the same way. Like that. And I want to open up my wires while they're still fairly loose. Just like that. And while I can, I'm going to slide them down to the end because I'm going to need them down there. And so now I'm going to wrap this around one more time. And then I'm going to trim that wire off. And then I'm going to press this wire down so it's nice and smooth against the base wire. And this may take just a little bit of work to get it down and smooth. But basically you just want to make sure this is smooth so it's not going to get caught in anybody's hair or anything. So you want to just make sure of that. And you don't want it to scratch their face or anything. Okay, so now that that's smooth, it looks like this. This is what we're working with so far. And then we have this little hook in the back. And I'm just going to make sure it's slid down to the base. And then I'm going to fold this hook up. And you want to make sure you're doing this on the back of your earring, of course. It takes a little bit of working with to get it situated to where you need it. And I just want to fold these, and I just want to fold this wire up. And this will close over those 26 gauge wires at the base. I'm trying to hold everything as steady as I can on my hand. But we're just folding this up over these wires. And I'm going to fold it in there. It's folded in. I want to make sure it's pressed in nice and tight in the back and make sure it's smooth. And then, like, if you want to press these wires up a little bit, you can to neaten it up. But this is what that part of the earring is looking like. And I'm just going to double check and make sure everything feels smooth to me. And now I'm going to do the other earring. So we're going to take this piece of 20 gauge wire and we're going to go on the flat end. And we're just going to go right above the base, right above the end of it, and we're just going to bend it up just like we did on the other one. So we have it that shape. And we're going to take our 26 gauge wire, get it all the same length, like that. And then we want to find the center on our wire. And we want to make sure each side is the same length. And we're going to fold it around. I'm going to fold it around just like that. And I want to make sure that they're nice and close together. And I'm going to wait till the end to fold them, to pull the wires down to the end. So I'm going to slide on my 8mm bead. And this time, since the other one, I started pulling the wires up from the right side and going over, this time I'm going to take the wires on the left side and go around the bead. So I want to do a mirror image. So I'm going to take my wires and I've laid them flat against the bead. I wrapped around the wire and I've come back around. And so now I want to do that with this other side. I want to pull up, make sure they're flat against the bead, and pull around. And now I'm going to add my 6mm bead. I'm just going to kind of press it down on that other one. And I'm going to start on the left side. And I'm going to lay these wires flat down, and it helps to press your thumb against it to hold it in place while you're wrapping the wire back around to the original side. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one. We'll make sure those wires are laying flat. And we'll pull it around just like that. And then I'm going to put the 4mm bead on. And I'm going to press it down. And I'm going to pull these wires around. And I'm going to wrap around once, and then I'm going to wrap around one more time just to make sure they're nice and secure. And then I'm going to trim those wires as close as I can get them. And then I want to press these wires down. And before I do that, I'm going to slide this down towards the end to make it easier to slide at the very end. But I don't want to get it too close because I don't want those wires coming off. And I also want to make sure the correct side is facing forward before I do this. So you want to make sure that you're in this position right here with this forward, this part forward, and then this little hook part in the back. And I'm going to take these little wire ends that are sticking up, and I'm just going to gently start pressing them down and kind of working my pliers around. And I find it helpful to go around like in a circular motion, just gently opening and closing like that. And I want to make sure those feel smooth, and they're not quite smooth yet, so I want to kind of press them down just a little bit more so they do stay smooth. And there's still one sticking up. So I'm just going to press that in there. So now I'm going to go back to my front part, and I'm going to twist this, make sure it's sitting right. I'm going to take this piece I'm going to take these wires and I'm going to make sure they're flat. And it kind of helps to run your fingers up over the wires a little bit to warm them up. And I'm just going to pull around the top and then wrap around. And then I'm going to trim this off as close as I can get without cutting any other wires. And before I secure that at the top, I'm going to pull this down just a little bit. But I'm going to just press these down gently around the top and just work with it until everything is pressed down so it's smooth. So I'm just going to work with these wires and just make sure they don't work up your base wire too much. Otherwise your earrings will be lopsided. I've almost got it smooth. But I'm just kind of opening and closing my pliers as I go around. And I just do that until everything is smooth and looks the way I want it to look. Right now I want to go ahead and kind of measure my earrings against each other and make sure they're looking very similar. Okay, so now with this one, I want to go ahead and fold this around to the back. And then I'm just going to bend it up over those wires. And just press it in. And I want to make sure it's pressed in until it's smooth. So now I'm going to look at my earrings and make sure everything looks the way I want it to, and make sure everything looks even. That's the biggest thing, is you want it to look even. You want them to be symmetrical. So now I'm just looking at my earrings just to make sure the length and everything looks okay before I go on to the next step. And I believe everything looks good. And I want to double check on both of them that there's nothing sharp sticking out. So now I'm going to take my pliers and then I'm going to go right above this just a tiny bit, and I'm going to bend it. This one I'm going to bend this way, the other one I'm going to bend the other way, and we're going to do a wrapped loop. And I'm going to use my 6-step pliers, and I'm going to put it right there. I'm going to wrap this around, kind of open those up, and I'm going to pull this around. I'm just going to make a couple wraps until I meet up with the wires, like that. And then I'm going to trim it. And then I'm just going to press this little wire down that is sticking up from where I trimmed that wire. And I just want to make sure that I get it all smooth. And you can bend this around with your pliers like that if you need to make sure it's right in the front. But I just want to make sure this is pressed down nicely. Yeah, still feels a tiny bit scratchy. So I'm just going to keep pressing just to flatten that wire out and get that scratchiness gone. Okay, and now that's moved a little bit, so I'm just going to turn it with my pliers. So now we're going to do the same thing with the other earring, but we're going to do the opposite. So this time with this earring, I'm going to go right above that wire, not far above, just enough. I'm going to bend it the opposite way of the other earring. And I'm going to put my pliers in here, and I'm going around the smallest step on these. I'm just going to wrap that around like that. Now I open my pliers up, and I'm going to pull this around. And I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to pull it around twice, just like I did on the other ones. And then I'm going to trim it. And now I'm going to press this little wire down. And I can still see it sticking up a little bit, so I'm going to press it down just a little bit more. And I just want to make sure that everything is smooth. Now I'm going to make sure my loop is around center like that. Now I'm going to compare my earring sizes again. I'm going to hold them both at the top and make sure that they look like they're going to be pretty much the same length. So now I'm going to take some ear wires, and I'm just going to take it on the back, and I'm just going to gently turn this right here to the left or to the right, whichever way, and just open that up a little bit. And then I'm going to make sure I'm looking at the front, and I'm just going to slip that on there, and then I'm going to press this back to where the wires meet up together. And then I'm going to press it closed. So now I have it pressed where it's together like that, but now I have it pressed where it's even, so now I need to press it closed. Just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other one. I'm going to take my ear wire and I'm just going to open it a little bit. And you don't have to open it a lot, just enough to get your earring slipped on it. I'm going to make sure the front is facing forward. I'm going to take my pliers and I'm just going to press them down like that, and that gets it all even. And now I'm just going to press my, you see how that's even right there? And now I'm just going to press it closed. And I just want to make sure it's closed all the way. And there you have it. Just a pair of simple earrings. And the more you make these, the easier they are to make. I haven't made these in a really, really long time. So, but there you have it. A pair of earrings. And you can use any stones you want. You just want to use the 8mm, 6mm, and 4mm. Of course, if somebody liked longer earrings, you could add a 10mm at the base. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button. That really helps me out a lot, and it helps YouTube know to recommend my videos as well. And it lets me know you are liking the content that I'm putting out. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the description. I'd love to hear what you're working on right now, Or if you have any requests for future videos, I would love to hear what you would like to see. And I will leave all the materials that you need for the earrings down in the description. And all the tools that I use in general that I love and that I've tested out are also linked down in the description. So you can find everything down there. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.